You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence keeps this channel ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence. I'm Mike, and this is a sample of Vinta Fairytale Lakbay, which is a really interesting ink. It's called Sea and Sky, I believe is the other name for this one. And as you can see on the bottom, this does have an interesting color of shimmer going on here in this light blue ink. There it is, which is a very striking combo. Audrey picked this one out as a sample from Vanness. Let's look at it on some paper. Here it is on my usual Rhodia 80 grams per square meter paper. And as you can see, that shimmer is really doing a lot of work. Here, right here, in the middle of that, it's a nice blue ink, which is a little bit on the light side. But once you throw this shimmer in there, it gives it a whole lot of interesting character. Definitely worth checking out, I think. This is another one of these sort of thin, undersaturated inks from Vinta. Performance, mild bleed on the 20 pound, nothing real serious, but as you can see here, and it looks really nice on the 20 pound actually. A lot of these undersaturated inks look good on bad paper, and this 30% recycled paper does kind of suck, but very, very mild bleed through on this one, especially given that this is a pretty darn wet diplomat nib, this 14K broad I've had it in. This was the pen that it was in for quite a while there. This is the only gold diplomat nib I have. I really like their steel. This is a pretty wet nib and pretty darn broad. So I thought it would be really good for this ink, and it turns out it is pretty good for this ink. Here we have so much promise, and its big problem is that it is real inconsistent. The blue is really kind of too light, and so it needs the shimmer to be there to work well, and the shimmer just isn't always there. So sometimes you can see, like up here, tons of shimmer, looks really good there, and then sometimes you just kind of, like down here, you just don't really get anything, and so it's kind of like, I mean, it's fine. This is okay. But dip pens, this looks great in a dip nib. Fresh fills, if you get that shaken up, if you've got enough shimmer going on in the nib, you get some really good effects. And we'll see that on some other papers as well. 30 ml bottles for 16 bucks on these. That's not too bad, I don't think, for this kind of nice shimmer. And man, I wish that this was a little bit more consistent in how much shimmer it lays down, but it just kind of isn't. It's a little bit, yeah, you never know what you're going to get out of the nib on this one. So let's get some ink, some water on this, see how it does with that, and then we'll look at some chromatography, some different papers, and also some comparable blues. Although I'm not going to have anything that has that combination of color and shimmer, just because that color of shimmer is real interesting. Let's get over on the, there you go, get over here. Yeah, there. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to get some of that on there. Just see what happens. All right, let's go ahead and blot this up. We don't need a whole lot of time here, I don't think. It's going to do what it's going to do. And that is come off of the page. Yeah, I'm not surprised by this at all. It is interesting. You can see the shimmer left behind. Some places there's a whole bunch of shimmer. Those dots, for instance, the bottom of the W. But then where there wasn't shimmer, it's just kind of entirely gone. So yeah, not water resistant. Keep this particular sea and sky in the sky and away from the sea, because not water resistant at all, except for where the shimmer's hanging out. That's a little bit of that. Here's the chromatography, and as you can see, shimmer all stays at the bottom. Everything else moves up the page. Bright blue, some nice bright greens, a smudge of pink. Really interesting that there's a smudge of pink there, but the shimmer, I want this shimmer in more things. That is just a banger of a shimmer color. We need more of that, y'all. And indeed, we, I think, got some more of this kind of thing in the ink vent from Diamine, so that's fun. All right, here it is on some Moraman Croquis paper, which is a nice thin paper. It's not terribly coated, but it is very, very smooth. And I don't know, it might have been too smooth to draw out the shimmer or some weird thing. I don't really know what happened, but up here at the beginning, lots of nice shimmer, and then it just totally stops. Almost totally. You see a couple of like the U and the I here and the I here, and then you don't see it again for a while, right? It doesn't show up until palm, which like this much of the page, just no shimmer whatsoever. So that's kind of disappointing. But then you look down at the bottom here, and like, look at that. The shimmer decided to show up, and it looks rad. So some more consistency in this ink and shimmer combo, and it would be just an absolute banger. But this is great. This is uninspiring to me. Then here we have it on Inky Fingers. This is wheat straw paper, and it's this entry right here. And it looks okay on this paper. For some reason, it just kind of like the ink and shimmer together just look kind of muddy. Like it loses the interesting stuff you get here and just gets kind of muddy. And I don't really know why, but isn't that weird? Yeah, interesting. And then here on Tomoe River paper, of course, nice and coated and that sort of thing. It doesn't look great, I don't think, on Tomoe River. There's hardly any shimmer in this sample, and where it is, it's just not doing enough. I think it needs a paper that it can soak into better than it can on Tomoe River in order to look its best. It's just kind of a very pale blue, which is a nice sky blue if that's what you're looking for, but kind of pale for everyday writing for me, I think. All right, let's look at some color comparisons. I've got a bunch of these because I got a lot of blues. Here it is on the Colodex card. You can find a link for these in the notes below. And here I have, you can see I was having a little bit of trouble with this. Sometimes with the glass dip nib, you get a little bit of a trouble with some of these inks. So here you can see it's like very, very thin, and all of a sudden like ink just falls off the nib, and then you get like this thing. It's you never know what you're gonna get. You just don't know. But this swatch looks awesome, if you ask me. I love that look. Just need more of that shimmer to be consistent. Then we have here Diamine Sub-Zero, which is another shimmer ink. You're not going to find any of those that are real close. Otherwise, we've got Mont Blanc Miles Davis, which I think is closer in terms of the blue than this is. I just want to throw a blue with shimmer because this looks cool. This has an interesting, like kind of silvery greenish shimmer, which is cool, but this is a little bit closer color-wise. Pannonia Hoopakeek, which is Whoopie Blue. That's a fun name. And I think this blue is also kind of close, but definitely brighter and not as dusky as that one. Then we've got Papier... Goodness. Then we have here Papier Plume Bubblegum Snowball, which I thought was going to be closer than it is. This actually ends up looking a little bit purple, but this has a blue with a pinkish kind of shimmer in it, coppery shimmer maybe, and then this you get blue with like little pink bits in it in a multi-chrome fashion, and so you get kind of the similar effect, but more consistent writing with this one. And then the closest thing I have is this one, which is from the Diamine Cult Pens collection, the summer collection. This is A Dip in the Pool, and I think this is the closest blue I have to Lakbay Sea and Sky. This is an interesting color, kind of a dusty pale blue, and kind of close, but it lacks the shimmer. So interesting set of things here, and a really interesting ink here in Fairytale Lakbay. So I found this sample over at Vanness, and you probably can too. Thanks to all my patrons who give us cash to buy things and experiment and show you things that otherwise I probably wouldn't have gotten. Although this is pretty cool. Maybe we would have gotten this anyway. I don't know. Who knows? But do like the video if you did. Leave a comment down below. Tell me about what you think about this one, or if you would end up using this one. You think, oh, look at that. That looks good. And this writing sample, really nice. Get yourself a paper with some like texture and some like the ability to soak in, and maybe you'll really like Lakbay. It's just kind of all over the place. And then subscribe if you haven't. Tell a friend. That helps the channel. And thanks very much for watching. You'll see me in another video soon. Peace out.